During the months of August and September, groups of enthusiasts across Wisconsin get out their antique machines to reenact one of the great rural Wisconsin traditions, threshing. The families of Couillardville, a small rural crossroads community north of Green Bay, gathered at their 15th annual machine shed reunion at Meadowbrook Farm on a Saturday in August 2017 to reenact threshing in their community. In 2016, Leon Jansen began a search for a Bell City thresh machine similar to the one operated in their neighborhood by Norb Carey in the 1940s and early 1950s. Jansen's search took him into many machine sheds across the state where he saw a range of machines in varied conditions. With the support and encouragement of Monsignor Michael Gorman, himself a threshing enthusiast from Richland Center, Jansen eventually connected with Bob Akala from Mondovi, Wisconsin. Bob was willing to part with his Bell City machine and his McCormick Deering grain binder because, as Bob said, "After many years of threshing, my crew is just getting too old to continue this work." Shown here are Bob Akala, Lyle Nichols, and Bob's brother Paul with the Bell City thresh machine ready to travel to its new home in Couillardville. The next day, the McCormick Deering grain binder joined the threshing machine. One of the Couillardville neighbors, Mike Donlevy, took on the task of working the field and planting the 2017 oats. A group of neighbors and former neighbors brought their enthusiasm and energy to the process from the early planting all the way through the harvest. Many hours were spent working to understand the many unique features of this threshing machine and grain binder. When it came time to cut the oats, Norb Carey's son, Ron, ran the grain binder. While a group of neighbors and friends, old and young, pitched in to shock the oats. On the day before the machine shed reunion, the core threshing crew gathered to run a load of bundles through the threshing machine to raise their confidence that things were ready for threshing day. Following a community noon dinner prepared by all of the families attending, Lyle Nichols supplied the power for the threshing machine with his Farmall M, the same model used by Norb Carey in the later years of his threshing. That day, many threshing enthusiasts got their hands on a pitchfork and helped in other ways to be reminded of their families' connections to threshing. While this demonstration of threshing was successful, the rain came before all of the oats was threshed. So why is this particular annual rural farm event so remembered and talked about? Perhaps it is because it marked the end of an era of neighbor helping neighbor, a time during which a special culture was formed in rural crossroad communities. The era began in the 1850s when communities were formed with immigrants from many countries. These communities typically built a church, a schoolhouse, a store, a cheese factory, and many had a tavern. But most importantly, they built a special way of life. For most, the era ended in the 1950s, in part driven by the combine replacing the threshing machine. Threshing required a large crew, and one just had to depend upon their neighbors. Threshing was certainly hard work, but it was also a much anticipated social event. Everyone talks about the great meals served and about the gatherings at the end of the day.
Threshing season in Couillardville was time to enjoy your neighbors, working and playing together, spending valuable hours discussing family and farm projects.
Just all the food my mom would make, for the threshing crew. All of the meats and the potatoes and all of the baked goods. The whole table was just full of food and preparation to feed the crew. One in particular was Mom. It was a white cake, and she'd make a lemon pudding filling in the middle. Everyone loved that, and we make it to this day.
And of course, pies, many choices. Always apple, pumpkin, mincemeat, and cherry. Grandma Mary DeTade always served Bohemian kolaches as dessert in addition to the pies.
They would come in exactly at noon, and my mom would race, and we would help and get everything on the table. And these guys would come in, they never washed their hands. They would come in, they would sit down, and they would just eat with gusto and laugh. And in like 15 minutes, they were done and they were gone out the door. And there was nothing left on the table. I mean, they just ate everything that you put in front of them. So it was quite wonderful.
Youngsters, both boys and girls, remembered driving tractor to haul the wagons because their help was needed, but some weren't quite big enough to pitch the bundles. The combine changed that. It made it possible for farmers to harvest on their own, be independent, and rely less on their neighbors.
The threshing time came after I was shocked. I did drive a tractor out into the field with one of the wagons to be loaded up, and proceeded to do all right with that.
And, my job mostly was to pitch bundles onto the wagon out in the field. But my memories are more of not that so much as some of the old guys that were out there with me, old Germans. One gentleman by the name of Augie, his name was Augie Dornstrike. And all these guys, they wore bib overalls and they had long underwear. Most of them had long underwear on in the heat of August. I think it was wool underwear. Some of them had wool shirts. And at the end of the day, they kind of taught me what it was all about, because I was all sunburned. I was dressed like this, and they were doing just fine. And I remember Augie said, "Yeah, what'll keep you warm in the wintertime will keep you cool in the summertime."
The food was always, I think, a big draw. Plus the camaraderie. You get a group of people together that are working and sharing in the labors, and it's a good time regardless of how hard the work is.
Could it be that we all deep down long for that time of the fun and satisfaction of neighbor helping neighbor, and the social time together, and the celebration of neighborhood accomplishments?